Afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming along to this, taking a break from your lunch. I don't know whether you've had lunch yet. Hopefully you have. So my name is Robin Minto. I work for a company called Buy-Box. We're a supply chain management technology company in the UK, operating globally. I want to talk today about web application security and how we can take a small step to improving what we're doing in that area. It might even be the first thing we're doing in that area in our software development lifecycle. I want to talk a bit about OWASP Zap and the HUD. I'll talk a bit about what that means in a second. So I realise that that is a jumble of letters, probably, to everybody. Just a quick show of hands. Is anyone familiar with OWASP? OK, that's good. So that's the Open Web Application Security Project, for those people who aren't familiar with that. It's a charity worldwide, user groups all over the world, and members create projects on web application security, mobile app security, tools, documentation, cheat sheets, lots of good resources. One of the tools that they create is called Zap. Anyone familiar with Zap? OK, couple of hands, fewer. Zap is the Z-Attack proxy. It's a scanner and intercepting proxy. I'll talk a bit more about what that means. But it's used for web application security testing. Use it during your development process. As you're developing these web apps, you can use it in your build pipeline. You can use it for penetration testing, that sort of thing. It's free. That's good. Open source. It's cross-platform. Runs on your laptop or your local machine. And another part of the puzzle is the HUD. Anyone familiar with head-up displays? So you'll see these in aircraft and cars increasingly. It's basically giving you information, in eyesight, in the thing that you're looking at, and it's kind of augmenting that with useful information, giving you that information in your field of vision. WTF, you know that one, right? OK. So why do we care about security? It generally comes down to this, money. So there's the cost of cleaning up a breach, reputation damage. It could be direct theft or blackmail, potentially. Fines. Everyone familiar with this? Nobody wants to end up on Troy's website, OK? It's fair to say, I think. I also like to talk a bit about a concept called pushing left. So where do we do our web security, our application security? We develop our product, we push it live into production, and then we go and buy some penetration testing services and get them to check it, right? Well, no. So the idea of pushing left is getting security testing as early as possible into your pipeline. And why do we care about that? Well, it's things like this. So there's your development pipeline over time. You might be iterating in there, agile, etc. Whatever your process, it's kind of basically build the software and operate it eventually. But the longer you leave it, the more expensive it gets to fix any kind of problem, any kind of bug, any kind of security issue. So that's why we care about that. And that's why it's useful to get security testing tools early into your development. So I talked a bit about Zap being a scanner and an intercepting proxy. So I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit now. Scanning terms, you've got your web application. You've got Zap. You fire that up. You point it at your website, and it goes off and spiders your application, sending requests and responses to it, and looking at the traffic that's going to the web app and coming back, sending interesting requests, looking at the responses, and looking for issues, and it will flag them up to you. That's good, but you can also use it in proxy mode, where similar scenario, got your web app, got your Zap tool, but this time you run your browser through Zap. So you point your proxy through Zap, you explore your website, and Zap looks at the requests and responses in the traffic and looks for issues that way. And this way, if you're exploring your app, you know how it works. You're effectively explaining to Zap the structure of your app and letting it examine all of the responses. How do we get started? Well, it's pretty straightforward. You go to zaproxy.org, hit the download button, or if you're more like me, you might use a package manager like Chocolatey. You might use Homebrew if you're on the Mac, or Docker. So it runs in a Docker container. You don't get all the UI, but you can run that in your build pipeline, things like that, or for small amounts of testing. So there's links to all of these things that I'm talking about on my website, robinminto.com/talk/ZapHud. But let's have a quick look at Zap in action. So this is Bob's Discount Diamonds. Don't buy anything from Bob's Discount Diamonds. This is a terrible website that I've built to be deliberately vulnerable. It's got all sorts of issues with it. Some people ask me why it's Bob's Discount Diamonds and not sort of, Dan's Discount Diamonds. Bob's my father-in-law, so he gets the blame for this one. So Zap, when you look at that, looks like this. This is Zap the first time you run it. So there's quite a lot going on in this user interface, right? So quite a lot to take in at once. So I'm not going to go through all of this. I'm going to jump straight to the HUD. So in this section here, I've got sort of quick starts. I can do an automated scan. I could do a manual scan. There's some help too. Let's go for a manual scan. I'm going to move this bar down a bit. Okay. So here's the URL that I'm going to explore. I've got the HUD enabled, and I'm going to launch the browser. In this case, Firefox. And what Zap's going to do in this case, it's going to wire up Firefox to proxy through Zap so it can look at that traffic. And you can see here it's already found some issues in my website just from the first page that it's looked at. And it's basically added these elements down the side. So this is sort of page level issues and some other functionality. And here's site level issues with my website. Here's some history down the bottom. So these are the requests that it's making. Yeah, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to tell Zap that this website is in scope. So I'm going to do that first. So now Zap understands that this is the website I'm interested in testing. And I can basically just put a message in here, explore my web app, and all the time Zap is looking at how my site is built and just understanding what the images and the pages look like, those sort of things. And I can inspect the messages that I'm sending to and from my web app. So why don't we do that here? I'm going to turn on break mode, go in here, let's send myself a message again. And here's the request and the response. This time I'm going to actually tweak this. So I can modify any of the parameters in this request, send that onto the website, and it's changed it for me. I'll come back to some of these alerts that are appearing over here. One of the things I'm going to do is, I talked about the scanning functionality, so let's do a bit of that. I can get Zap to spider my app in the background. It's pretty quick at doing that. It's a small app, so that's already done. And then I can do an active scan to see how vulnerable I really am. Oh, okay, so it's found some issues already. So those will appear down here. And they'll also appear so I've got a cross-site scripting problem, and these will keep appearing as it actively scans my website. So there's cross-site scripting problem. There's some information about what a cross-site scripting request is, how it found it, and how I might fix it. That's all in the browser for you while you're looking at your app. Okay, so it's found another problem. Now I've got a SQL injection in here as well. So I know I can go off and have a look at some of these issues. Some headers not being set properly, a bit of information leakage, telling people things that they shouldn't or they don't need to know. Other little interesting things, I can show any hidden fields in my forms on the website. So I can potentially go in here and change that to admin and submit that instead. You've seen how you can intercept the requests as well. I can also look at the comments that might be hidden on the website. So here's a comment here where it's, oh, okay, we're already aware of that security problem. Need to fix that one. And once you're done with that, you can have a full report of everything that it's found, all of the information about fixing it and those sort of things. So this is a really good little app. It's all, as I say, it's free. It's a great way of getting started with security testing in your web application. It's not everything you need to know about web application security, but it's a great start. When you first go into the head-up display, there's a tutorial built in, which is great. So it will run you through all of the different steps, take you through everything you need to know. There's also 10-minute training videos on the Zap website that are good too. As I say, all the links to these things are on my website, robinminter.com/talk/ZapHud. So that's a really quick tour of ZapHud. Download it, give it a go. If you didn't catch the talks by Troy Hunt and Jim Manico today and yesterday, check out the videos from NDC, look at the resources on the OS website, make sure you're testing early. Let me know how you get on. Feel free to grab me for questions and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.